Look, everyone, it's no secret that theorizing about things like mascot and analog horror can be a pretty intense game. And I'm just not feeling very intense this week. So today, let's slow things down and talk about the art symbolism of Amanda the Adventurer. Hi, I'm nervous, and after only a year and some months of waiting, Mangled Mall delivered the third and final chapter of Amanda the Adventurer. Obviously, spoilers ahead if you haven't seen or played the game, so if you want to do that, it is available on Steam for under $10, and of course there are a swath of playthroughs here on YouTube, including my very own channel. Now, I first want to say I was wrong, and happily so. I predicted that we wouldn't be able to save Rebecca in this new game, and while I did seem to have the right idea about the fates of the other children, unfortunately, we are able to free Rebecca, who is now much older and in serious need of therapy. Okay, before getting into everything, let me give you a brief overview of the third game, and if you want something more in-depth, I have left some resources in the description. ATA 3 drops us in an abandoned Hameln facility, where our main character Riley works to free Rebecca once and for all. After solving a series of puzzles and collecting tapes, we find where she's being held, and that we can seemingly reconnect her to her memories by rewriting the Amanda tapes. Secret tapes we find along the way reveal how the Amanda demon, aka the Colton Anomaly, came to be, and that it killed Rebecca's father, Sam. We learn that Wooly was a man named Marcus, who was turned into the Woolly demon, aka the Shepherd, in an attempt to kill the anomaly by destroying all of the Amanda tapes and fighting it in a weakened state. And we learn that the Hameln company struggled to maintain a good relationship with the community of Kinsdale as children were disappearing. Consequently, the Amanda show, not that one, was abruptly taken off the air amidst the bad press. The game ends with us finding an underground chapel of sorts, where it seems the cult running Hameln would worship and speak of their mission: to use the imagination of children to bring about a new world, where people would embrace their darkness.
Who among us has not been told that in the beginning there was light, pure truth, and that this was the original gift of God? That over the millennia, we have tarnished this gift by introducing darkness and concealment. This, my brothers, my sisters, is a lie. Darkness is not the covering of truth. It's our very origin. We are born of concealment. We are born of darkness. We are born of nothingness. Before our birth, there was the great middle. This is our truth. This is our gift. Over the centuries, those who see the truth have nurtured this darkness, nourishing it until a time when it can subjugate the light and those who foolishly worship it. This time has come, and it is the children, born out of nothingness as we all are, the children who remain innocent witnesses, who will deliver our ultimate gift of darkness to the world. The child's imagination, unspoiled by truth, can plant the seed of the impossible. And that seed's roots will take hold in the soil of reality, untethered by its limitations. But our children need guidance, and so we shall guide them, darkening the road ahead of them so they may escape the rigid path of the light, and take us all into the valley, so that we may return to our unchained darkness. What is not will be. Shall rejoice.
It's giving a little bit of Lilith energy for my Diablo 4 and the Alphabet of Bensyra fans. If we do everything we're supposed to, we free Rebecca, and she is, in turn, able to free the demon Amanda. Oh, she's been all beaten up by Wooly. This is for both of us. We also seem to discover that Rebecca and Riley may have had a friendship as children, but that's more hinted at than exactly confirmed. The game ends with, seemingly, the promise of a better day.
You didn't leave me.
I'm sure there will be plenty of videos made solving ATA 3, so today I'm not going to try to go that route. However, if you do have any lingering questions that you would like answered, please leave them in the comments below, and perhaps there will be another Amanda video later when I've had more time to let the full series settle in my mind. But honestly, a lot of my personal feelings about what's going on with Hameln and the town of Kinsdale still stand from my last two videos. There were plenty of things that I was wrong about, and frankly, the third game left a lot of my personal questions up to interpretation, but mostly I'm comfortable letting my interpretations stay the way they are. So instead, I just want to explore the art of Amanda the Adventurer that can be found on the walls throughout the game.
Mainly in the hallway as we enter the underground chapel. It caught my eye partially because it was obviously real pieces rather than art made for the game, and it was a continuation of the Pied Piper art we see on the first floor. If you need more insight on the Pied Piper stuff, just watch either of my other videos. Okay, I think I've properly set everything up, so let's dive in. The first piece I looked into was the first framed picture in the hallway of a kind of moon with a big eye looking down over a body of water, with this triangular cutout in the side revealing a figure looking up at the moon. This piece is actually one in a series of plates created by Odilon Redon, honoring American poet and writer Edgar Allan Poe. Redon was a French symbolist born in the mid-1800s, about 9 years before Poe passed. Redon and Poe both evoke a sense of dread in their work, which I believe is fitting for the setting of Amanda. One quote that stuck out to me while researching the Poe lithograph series was by Marina van Zylen, a professor of French and comparative literature. What is astounding in the Poe-Redon fusion is that both artists yearn for rules of composition while portraying creatures that were unruly and decomposing. Unruly and decomposing creatures, just like Rebecca and her demon counterpart. Honestly, all 6 of the pieces in the series have their own interesting aspects, and I would encourage you to look into them further, but let's focus on the one mangled maw included in the game. On the horizon, the angel of certitude, and in the somber heaven, a questioning eye.
It's kind of a mouthful, but luckily such a title allows us to quickly dissect what we're looking at. An angel of certitude and a questioning eye. The question of fate laid out as an image.
The angel, however certain about how events will unfold, is accompanied by, or even loomed over by, this unwavering force, asking, "What if you're wrong?" It's a bold first image in the context of Riley's journey thus far. Amanda has been begging for our help throughout these games, despite Hameln, Wooly, and even Kate telling us to give up.
You can't change anything.
Even Joanne was temporarily convinced that hope was lost. But Riley remains as the questioning eye. And Rebecca and Riley's refusal to accept fate are what lead to Rebecca's eventual freedom. Another possible interpretation is that this is a symbolic depiction of Amanda and Wooly. One, a loyal servant of the Creator, and the other, a being shrouded in darkness but not overcome by it. A being with influence, unwilling to relinquish control to fate. Additionally, eyes have been a constant symbol throughout Amanda the Adventurer, even predating the first full game, so it's possible that those eyes and this one could be representative of Hameln the company, and the way that they surveil their child subjects. I'd love to hear your thoughts about which interpretation, or if you have a completely separate interpretation that you believe, in the comments below. Moving on to our next piece, we have The Temptation of St. Anthony by Salvatore Rosa. Created in the mid-1600s, this painting also depicts exactly what the title implies. Demonic figures and hallucinations attempt to lure St. Anthony into temptation. Upon first glance, I really didn't understand why this piece would show up in the game, since the cult appears fond of demons and St. Anthony's story is one of casting them out. Of course, since the game implies that demons are created through the imaginations of children, it could be a nod to how St. Anthony defeats the demons, by not giving them the attention that they seek. But it may also just be Mangled Maw giving us insight into how they chose the form the Colton Anomaly would take. Or, to put it in context of the game, we may be seeing some long ago summoning of the exact same demon that becomes the Colton Anomaly in Amanda the Adventurer. When you look at the two side by side, this demonic entity does bear a striking resemblance to the Anomaly, and considering the whole point of Hameln taking over the Amanda show was to lure children, perhaps children who could not resist Amanda's temptation were the ones who were taken in. And perhaps those are exactly the kind of children Hameln was after. Like I was saying before, they believed a child's imagination was the key to helping the cult achieve its mission. They would help plant the seed to make the impossible possible. This painting shows temptation in many forms, and from the speech we hear near the end of the game, it does seem that cultists believe we should give into the darkness we were born from. But we can talk more about that another day. For now, let's move on to our next piece, The Cult of the Demon. We're back in France with this piece by Jacques Callot made in the early 1600s. Interestingly enough, Callot also has a series of works depicting the temptation of St. Anthony. It's honestly a pretty popular subject for artists all throughout history, but anyway. The Cult of the Demon was a part of a series called The Sacrifices, and depicts a goat figure being worshipped by a group below. I think this one's meaning is a bit more straightforward. The cult in ATA is serving a demonic entity, which is not really a question at this point, so why are we shown this?
While I won't pretend to know, Callot did do a lot of depictions of real-life events in his life, and in his later works depicted many social injustices and the miseries of war. So perhaps Mangled Maw wanted to show this piece in a new context. What if this was not a symbolic piece, but a literal one? A documentation of this cult all the way back in the 1600s.
I'm probably overthinking this. I will just say, if anything, this piece certainly solidifies that this cult has not been mislabeled as demonic. And that brings us to our final piece, and the hardest one for me to identify. In fact, I didn't identify it. Saracens and Burbdock in my community did, and I'm very grateful for their help. And as is the theme with these artworks, the title is in no way subtle. This piece, whose artist seems unknown, is titled The Torture of Papus by Monsters in the Infernal Regions. And well, if that isn't exactly what this is showing. Before I move forward, I just want to say that I'm interpreting the art here and relating it to the fictional story of ATA. I in no way want to suggest I have a disdain for Catholicism or organized religion in general, and I just hope that's clear. So based on what we see here, this piece appears to be a Protestant judgment of the Roman Catholics, two religions sort of fighting about who is truly a follower of the Lord and who's really going to be getting into heaven and who will be tortured for eternity. And this piece is one we have the least amount of information on, but part of my research in finding this image included looking up the headwear used, and it seems to be roughly from the 16th century, aka the 1500s, though this staff also looks like something a 15th century bishop might carry, so it could be a little bit older. I'm just going to say it's either the 15th or 16th century, which does track with most of the other works that we see in this hallway. Regardless, from what I can surmise, this piece, which takes up an entire wall in ATA 3, in my opinion, is a reference to the cult's ultimate goal, to unleash this chaos upon humanity. And it also depicts, in a way, how they succeeded and how they failed. The cultists believed it was their duty to send the world back to darkness, its origin. They used Rebecca and other children to help them achieve their goals,
But they are ultimately undone by the demons summoned or created by Rebecca. They created two demons, actually, who would wreak havoc on the town of Kinsdale. And the Hameln facility is abandoned, meaning the anomaly either killed the cultists or ran them off. There was no rejoice. All right, well, I hope this little dive into these art pieces was as interesting for you as it was for me. Even if they didn't reveal as much about the games as I had hoped, they did offer a peek into the minds of the developers and hammer home just how long this cult has been operating and working towards its ultimate goal. The temptation of St. Anthony in particular is interesting in regards to the Pied Piper aspect of the story, as in a previous theory I talked about how Amanda is the new Piper, leading children to the cultists, and I still believe that. Over the years, these cultists likely found many ways to lead children into temptation, and they likely had many different pipers with which to lure them. Maybe Mangled Maw is done telling Amanda or Rebecca's story, but if they ever wanted to come back, I do believe there are many other pipers that could be explored, and the cult's origins are still shrouded in mystery, not to mention their ultimate fate. We never get confirmation of whether or not the Colton Anomaly takes out the Hameln employees, or if they do manage to escape and set up shop in another unsuspecting town. And look, I'll be honest, I really hoped that I'd have a greater revelation to come from looking into this art, but what I can say is that it did get my brain working on the nature of the cult itself and just how vague the game seems to be about it. So like I said earlier in the video, if you do want me to explore some of those mysteries, please let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to become a part of the nervous system if you haven't already. I upload new videos every week, usually, and go live on Wednesdays and Fridays usually, but if you can't wait, there are videos on the screen right now just for you. Okay, bye!